Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thanks so much for joining me for this devotional. Today we're in Acts chapter 22. I'm going to read the last verse and then on into 23. Here's how the text reads. But on the next day, desiring to know the real reason why he was being accused by the Jews, remember Claudius Lysias, the tribune, was requesting that Paul meet before the authorities. So he unbound him and commanded the chief priests and all the council to meet, and he brought Paul down and set him before them. And looking intently at the council, Paul said, "Brothers, I have lived my life before God in all good conscience up to this day." And the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, "God is going to strike you, you whitewashed wall. Are you sitting to judge me according to the law, and yet contrary to the law you order me to be struck?" Those who stood by said, "Would you revile God's high priest?" And Paul said, "I did not know, brothers, that he was the high priest, for it is written, 'You shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people.'" So the Roman tribune, Claudius Lysias, orders a set down between all the parties involved in this citywide riot. He wants to get to the bottom of the issue because he knows that he has wrongly diverted due process for Paul, a Roman citizen. So the following day, they're all in a room together, and Paul is the first to speak, and he proclaims that he is innocent. This provokes Ananias because for Paul to claim his innocence would suggest their guilt. So the high priest commands someone to punch him in the face. And literally, he's given a face spanking. And then you might imagine Paul wiping blood from his lip and looking back at the high priest saying, "God is going to strike you, you whitewashed wall. Are you sitting to judge me according to the law, and yet contrary to the law, you ordered me to be struck?" So, to add insult to injury, Paul barks back at Ananias and he uses the phrase, "You whitewashed wall." Now, this could be translated into language that we would know today like, "You hypocrite." In their day, to whitewash something would have meant to cover over something in disrepair with a whitewashed mud plaster. It was kind of the cheapest way to do a home repair. And of course, Ananias was wrong to strike him without first hearing his case. And again, due process is diverted. And again, Paul is the victim of yet another injustice. You know, as followers, I think we underestimate the injustice that we're going to have to endure in this life. Paul has endured a lot of injustice up to this point, right? This moment is just one of many for him. But as we have traveled with Paul, we watch him get better and better at leaning into these challenging moments. Rather than run from them like he did initially, he leans into them as this character-shaping opportunity to advance the message of God. And remember, Paul was warned what was going to happen in Jerusalem, right? So he was well warned of the dangers, and yet Paul, who is much more confident of his identity and calling today, gives us a glimpse in this moment of the man that Jesus wanted him to be, a man on mission by God to the Gentiles in hopes of persuading some of the Jews. And we get this beautiful glimpse of a man willing to suffer anything for Jesus, even injustice, right? But notice what happens when a man on mission acts in godly character. It exposes the man who acts in an ungodly character. I mean, Ananias acted in his true character, and Paul acted in his true character. You know, today, do not be persuaded to live in ungodly character by the injustice of others. Choose instead to make the godly choice. Once again, be obedient when you're surrounded by disobedience, and set aside your justice and let God's justice reign. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.